everyone, I'm Kate.
And I'm Nick.
Our weekly Serendipitous Moment video series consists of current events on campus that are impacting students.
Typically, these episodes are informational and lighthearted.
For this edition, we took a somber look at events globally and regionally that are impacting and raising awareness on campus.
As events continue to unfold globally and domestically, we visited with fellow students here on campus to see what they had to say.
Our video series is an open platform for students to express their opinions.
My name is RIHANA Jones. First, I work in an Oasis for diversity. I help recruit students of color to come to college, and I'm also a graduate student.
Do you feel students here on campus have a good understanding of what is happening domestically and globally?
No, not at all. I think that people in our country are aware of things that are happening domestically, but that when I say they're aware, that just means they've heard about it, but they don't necessarily understand it, want to be educated about it, maybe even feel anything about it.
How would you like to see equality and diversity addressed here at Minnesota State Mankato?
I honestly think there's a level of inclusiveness that isn't happening. I think we're scratching the surface because there are a lot of diverse events happening. For example, Native American Night happened on Wednesday, and I think it's great that we create a space for these things to happen, but I still don't think majority of the school is attending or maybe is even hearing about it or even registering the fact that, hey, maybe I should go because this is an opportunity to be educated on something that's different than myself. And it's that train of thought that isn't being challenged.
How can the university advance trust and mutual respect for the care of students?
Some of our administrative leaders being physically seen by students, maybe attending more events on campus, maybe even going to classes and joining conversations, saying this is what I think, this is how I feel, this is what I try and do, because to be an invisible leader is kind of, it's literally like they don't exist. So I think that would be helpful to get students to recognize like there are people who actually run the school who are thinking about what the students want. Having student leaders, and you don't even have to be a leader or have a platform by any means. I think having a voice is a platform in itself. So I think checking other students and challenging other students in productive ways to kind of address the things that we say, the way that we think, even on social media.
So this week, talking about racism on campus, Chancellor Rosenstone released a statement that we talked about earlier. And also there was a movement here on campus, a rally on Monday, kind of talking about Black Lives Matter and to support Mizzou students. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the one who started it, honestly, and I remember just the week previous watching these things happen through Mizzou and seeing stuff on the news and reading articles and just feeling like an emotional tie to it because of course I'm Black, of course I'm a student at a university, and of course there are things that I face that are similar to the students over there, and to see power and action being taken up and having goals met really stood out to me because I think that's so important. I think a lot of people complain and don't do anything about it, and I'm so tired of having that conversation. I'm so tired of saying that I'm tired. What are we going to do about it? What are we Black people going to do about it? And what are we as a school with white allies going to do about it? It's not enough to see it and be like, oh yeah, I acknowledge that's happening. What are we literally going to do about it? Because every school has issues that happen behind closed doors that need to be addressed.
I'm a prior service 12 Tango engineer technician through the Army National Guard, and now I am the Cadet Command Sergeant Major over here at Maverick Battalion ROTC Black Hawk Brigade.
How would you like to see equality and diversity addressed here at Minnesota State?
Equality, to me, that's that's a whole thing. I don't really think equality is achievable, because everybody has their different gifts. But I think fairness is something that can be achieved. Diversity, I think we need to stop, trying to downplay one person's diversity to uplift another person's, because then that doesn't say anything about diversity. It just says, well, this is privileged and this is unprivileged.
On Monday, November 16th, there was a rally in the CSU for Black Lives Matter. Do you think the intended outcome of the rally was all or in part achieved?
I say yes, but out of that Black Lives Matter movement also comes Say Her Name, and that's to address black women that have experienced police brutality that is not really being addressed in the Black Lives Matter movement. So to some point, yes, I feel like it's being, it was reached and it's being reached and some people are being aware. But at the same time, it's what was the original goal? And the people who are, a part of the movement, do they know the objective? Do they know the mission statement, the goal? What are you really fighting for? You just get a whole bunch of people that bandwagon behind a hashtag because it's safe, and they don't really have to invest anything into it until their life is at stake because of it, or something is taken away from them and now they want to join.
What reaction did you have after the Paris attacks?
I didn't really follow up on it too much at first. I saw it on Facebook and I saw it on the news. And my first reaction was just kind of like, this is what I'm used to. People die all the time. I grew up to people dying, so I didn't think too much of it. But then I saw media coverage taking hold of it, and it seemed to be a huge deal. And I saw the Eiffel Tower being colored, and I heard bombings being done in retaliation, and everyone was making such a big deal out of it. And to me, I found that a little strange, because growing up, people seemed to die all the time, and the world seemed to still roll around. No one seemed to care.
How would you like to see equality and diversity addressed at Minnesota State Mankato?
The International Student Association and the Kearney International Center have been working towards that since the foundation of them. And I think we've been doing a good job, and that's what I've been working with this year. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that one can approach this topic, but this is the way that we like to approach it, through events that raise awareness and promote diversity.
What can be done to create a sense of belonging for all students and maintain a welcomeness to engage at Minnesota State Mankato?
Each individual student to go up to your international friends and talk to them, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I know on my floor, I had some friends, or some, residents that lived on the same floor, that were too afraid to ask me questions. And so when they asked me that first question, they were so afraid from the backlash that they get from me. They thought that what they were asking was racist or offensive, and sometimes it can be, but I think it's more important to extend that friendliness, because as long as your intentions are kind, I don't think people can be too upset with you. I don't know what other people's experience has been, but my experience has been that Minnesota, the state, and Minnesota State University, the university is a fantastic school, and I've never had anyone be rude to me or mean to me, and I've always felt like I was welcome here. And I know there needs to be steps towards diffusing issues, but it's not extremely bad.
This is Jessica FARRAH. As we said, I'm one of the graduate students in the MBA program. This is my second year. I'm also the speaker at the MSSA, the Student Senate. I am originally from Lebanon, and I've been in the US for almost 6 years now. Again, I said I'm from Lebanon, and the day before the Paris attacks, there was a big attack in Lebanon. There were suicide bombers that killed over 40 people and injured over 200. So I was kind of worried about that. So when I heard about the Paris attack, I was kind of worried that this is happening in more than one place. So the reason I was kind of worried is because I don't want to say typical, but it happens in the Middle East a lot where there's bombings. So for it to happen in Lebanon wasn't a big deal. However, for it to happen in the Western world or in a more calm area where this isn't very typical, that's where I got scared, and it kind of made me feel like, oh, is tomorrow going to be somewhere else? Like, is this just a one-time issue or more than that? Like, when you live in the United States, safety is kind of a given. Like, you're most likely going to be safe where you are. However, in the Middle East, that's not the way you're raised, so it's just seen differently. I was very hurt after the Paris bombing, when everyone started changing their Facebook profile picture, all the media that kind of, it came out of nowhere, and the media just blew it up. And it was kind of hurtful, because the day before the same thing happened in Lebanon, and nothing happened. So France has, I think, 26 times a bigger population than Lebanon. However, their attack was only 4 times bigger than us. So if you talk per capita, we got hurt more, but no one kind of seemed to be talking about it. But I'm glad that the conversation is happening. I'm glad that the Western world or the global conversation is happening where now we understand that they're dangerous.
Lastly, I'd like to thank our interviewees for taking the time out of their day to discuss these sensitive and difficult topics that are happening here domestically and globally. And thanks for joining us on this week's Serendipitous Moment.